Just the other day, I was getting my oil changed when the gentleman behind the counter said, "Are you related to him?" He doesn't have to say who the him is because I know, and I know the answer to that question leads us down a rabbit hole to a place I never wish to go but am often led. Yes, I'm related to him. My name is Robert Lee. I'm a descendant of General Robert E. Lee.
Welcome to another episode of What I've Learnt, and in this one we're looking at a debate which I find, as an American history geek, really interesting, and it's the debate around Confederate monuments. Should they stay or should they go? Now, on the one hand, some people think they should remain in American cities because they are monuments to the Civil War. They're commemorating the battle. But others say that they should be torn down because they're monuments to white supremacy, to racism, to slavery. And so when I was reading up about this debate, I came across a guy called the Reverend Robert Lee, and he's the descendant of General Robert Lee. He was the Confederate general during that war. And I brought him here to Washington and sat down with him just over there and asked him, what does he think about this whole debate? Does he think that these Confederate monuments, some of which are dedicated to his ancestor, should they stay or should they be torn down?
I spent my life fighting for justice, and I found that even in my own life, it keeps happening. I beg it to stop in my soul every time I pull out my credit card to pay for something, but it keeps happening. Yes, I'm related to him. Robert E. Lee occupies a peculiar place in our collective history. A high-ranking United States military officer, he left his command to lead the fight for the Confederacy in April of 1861. For all intents and purposes, he led the fight brilliantly because he was a brilliant mind. Though he lost the war, he retained the respect of all those around him. What's easy to glance over for us in the history books is the fact that Lee owned people. He enslaved Africans and fought for their continued enslavement with the Army of Northern Virginia. Some hate the man, others love him.
You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name. No, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, are we going to take down statues to George Washington? How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture.
My relationship is a little more complicated. I want to be proud of my history and heritage. But when the heritage is filled with hatred and enslavement, the waters become a bit more murky. We have to consider the implications of Lee's actions. We must right the wrongs of our history by seeking reconciliation and reparations. We must seek peace with justice for the racial chasm that still plagues our nation. This is not easy work. Lee's statue still sits in the Capitol building. There are churches, schools, roads, towns, counties named after him. There are monuments to his legacy that have become idols of white supremacy. That's why I'm here. I'm suggesting that there's a different way to address these issues. We can be better. We must be better. For the sake of our children, we must contextualize and tear down these idols that we have created. For these are not monuments to Lee, but monuments to white supremacy, to racism, and privilege. The statues stand as idols, and to me it is clear how idols should be treated by people of faith. They should be torn down. I'm a preacher by trade, so I refuse to end on something sour. There are people in this country waking up to a new way of life, a new way of thinking, a new way of hoping for tomorrow. May we be brave to join them and address the problems we face that have been thorns in our sides for too long. May we engage the white supremacists and end the terror of this nightmare and create the dream that God has for us, a dream where we are all bound together for the kingdom of God drawn near. For as Dr. King said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice.